Hello, peeps. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to my channel and welcome to a new day. Welcome to Mystical Balance Messages. So, today, what I want to discuss with everyone is how to work with the moon, how to work with the phases of the moon, how to operate your creativities, your crafting, your rituals, your spells, your very being with the moon phases. So, although the moon has many phases, we're going to focus on just a few. We're going to focus on the waxing, we're going to focus on the full moon energy, we're going to focus on the waning or waning moon, and we're going to focus on the new moon. So we're going to focus on those four phases. Okay? So when you hear the word waxing, okay, this is the point where we look at the sky, we see the crescent, and we notice that each and every night it's becoming larger, larger, and larger. Each night is growing, okay? It's getting ready to grow into its full potential, its full self. The waxing moon, we will call her the maiden, okay? Because she's not complete yet. She's growing. She's a baby getting ready to grow into the mother, the fertile her, the full nurturing self, okay? So during the waxing moon period, because we're talking about growth, you also want to operate your crafts, your spells, your ritual, your intentions on things that you also want to see grow in your life. If I need something to shrink, or if I'm doing something like a banishing ritual or releasing fears and anxiety, and I want these things to shrink in my life, it's best that I wait if I'm in a waxing cycle. Because the waxing cycle, the things that I want to see shrink, I don't want to do that during a growth phase, a waxing phase. So when you look in the sky and you notice that the night after it's growing, and then the night after that it's growing, and then the night after that it's getting larger and it's getting larger, that is the week where you want to focus all of your things and your creativities on the things that you also want to see grow in that same way, like the moon, the waxing phase, growth. Now, after the waxing phase, you enter into a phase of fullness, of wholeness, of oneness, of the mother. Now we're talking about the mother phase, okay? That's the full moon. After the moon is waxed each night and it's growing, it reaches its fullest potential. So now you want to focus on that. So the full moon is universal. You can do anything during this time because the energy is so enticed, the energy is so high, the energy is so vibrant, okay? And it reaches its fullest potential. You also want to focus on your spell work, your crafting, and all things that you want to celebrate has reached its full potential as well. The full moon is also a great time to celebrate. Okay, we always get into this motion when we're doing our crafts and we're doing our intentional stuff, and we only want to focus on I need this, or I want that, or I need this to happen. But during the full moon phase, you want to celebrate. You want to celebrate life. You want to celebrate being able to take your breaths. Okay, you want to celebrate um, being able to just be here in the now. Okay, and you want to just celebrate and be thankful for things during this phase. Okay, you also can do any type of work during the full moon. You can do your banishing, you can do your protection, you can do your abundance, you can do your growth stuff. Okay, you can do your self love, you can do anything at any time, really. But it's always a best and safe practice to operate with nature. So that's why we're talking about this today. Okay, so the full moon is universal. Do anything during that time. It's a great time to set your crystals outside. It's a great time to set yourself outside. If you're if you have a home and everything's in private, it's a great time to be sky clad. Sky clad is being in your natural form. That means you don't have on any clothes. You're completely naked. And just being out there and connecting with nature, with the grass, with the trees, with the breeze, and with the full moon energy. So full moon is universal. Okay. So once the moon is full, you'll start to notice in the sky each night that it's starting to shrink. Okay. So the shrinking phase is what we call the waning or the waning moon. People call it different things. I typically like to say the waning. The waning moon is spelled Waning. You can Google it and research it. So during this time, the best practices at this time for your manifestations and your crafting and your spell work and your rituals, you want to focus on things that you also want to see shrink, because each night the moon is shrinking. It's getting ready for something new. It's getting ready for a new phase. So it's already been completed with the full moon, and then each night it's going to start waning or waning away. The waning phase is the crone. Okay, she's the elder. She's gone through what she needs to gone through, and now she's shrinking. But after she shrink and she diminishes, she becomes new again for another cycle. So during the waning moon, you want to focus your energy on anything that you also want to see shrink in your life. For example, if I'm only focusing this week on growth and prosperity and abundance, it's best practices not to do that stuff during a time where the moon is shrinking. You don't want your abundance to shrink. You don't want your money to shrink. You don't want your growth and your new crafts and your new gifts to shrink, right? You want it to grow. So the best time during the waning period, when the moon is minimizing itself, is to focus on things that you also want to minimize in your life. Okay? So after the waning phase, okay, and you look in the sky and you notice that the moon has shrunk so small to the point where you can't even see it any longer. It's so little. Okay? Or it's just, it doesn't exist in the sky anymore with your visual eyesight, right? The energy is still in the sky. The moon is still in the sky. She's just on the opposite side of herself. She's on the darker half of herself. And this is called the new moon. Okay? The new moon is also universal, something like the full moon. But you really want to think about that word new. Focus your energy on the new you, the new transformations that you've received. Focus your crafts and your rituals on things that you want to welcome in. Celebrate your new self, because you know that you're no longer the same and which you once were before. Think about things that you want to see new in your life. That can be a new job, that can be a new relationship, that can be a new spiritual transformation, and celebrate those things during the new moon. And you also want to do your crafts and rituals and things like that on things that you want to see open up and create some new things in your life. Okay, so let's replay. Waxing, growth. During the waxing phase, and the moon is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, focusing on things that you also want to see grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. After that comes the full moon. It's waxed so much to now it's full. Celebrate and focus on anything you need to focus on. Life, mind, body, and spirit, meditation, charging yourself up, charging your crystals, charging your home. When you think about full moon, think about charging, right? And then after that, you have the waning phase, the shrinking phase, okay? When the moon is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, focus on things that you know that's in your surroundings that you also need to shrink, okay? And then when you can no longer see it and it's shrunken to its points in sight where it's no longer visible, that's the new moon. Focus on the new you. Celebrate the things that's new about you and your family. Be thankful for being here, you know, and just live life to its fullest. Operate your spells and your crafting and your workings. Pay very close attention to what's in the sky and what's around us because as above, so below. Get your stuff organized, okay? That is why a lot of the times the things that we create, we can't really see and manifest. We're doing it at the wrong time most of the time. We're not putting enough intention into the things that we're trying to create. We're always wanting, and just writing down stuff and just thinking it's going to handle itself. Involve nature, okay? Involve nature. So if you have any questions about what we discussed today, you can ask them in the comment section. If not, you can connect with me on Instagram, DM me at eclectic underscore Nisha. And also, if you want to learn more in depth about the moon phases, we have Wicca Moon Magic. In this book, it teaches you about each phase of the moon and best practices with doing your rituals and your craft work and your spells here at the workshop, Mystical Balance. And we are going to end this now, but always remember, with love, we heal ourselves as we promote the healing in others. And tap the subscribe button if you didn't already. Love, peace, and balance.